Welcome everybody back to another exciting show, the About That Wallet podcast. My today's guest is one of the top talking people in finances that helps over hundreds of families in escaping their financial issues, trying to find a way to actually mold their finances in the right way to take them to the next level. She has well over 12 years experience working with the most trusted financial services in the organization. She had led several multi-billion-dollar companies, and she's actually taking the time out today to kind of talk to everyone here about how she got started. And what we're actually going to dive into today mostly is about unlocking those financial opportunities, and leaving money on the table is something that we all tend to do. So thank you so much, Eunicia Peret, for being on the show today. How you doing?
Thank you so much for having me, Anthony. It's a pleasure to be here. And hello to everyone that's listening to us today.
Awesome. So I was listening through a lot of your content, and I realized that we go through so many things in life, and especially with the finances, and having the will to actually believe in ourselves that we can actually do a lot better. So can you just kind of dive into a little bit what you do with your company to kind of help people out with their finances?
Absolutely. That's a great question, Anthony. What I do is I'm a huge believer in giving individuals the empowerment to make choices that are right for them. And so because of that, what we do is we take a very strategic approach in working with our clients. We don't tell any of our clients that we do quote unquote financial services. What we do is we bring their entire financial team together. We are truly financial partners for life to our clients. And the reason for that is because we focus on a lot more than just where should individuals put their money, but more importantly, what is it that they should be doing to stop leaving money on the table and to start gaining control, not of just their finances, but their life and the way that they actually go through this life here on earth in a way that is purposeful to them and to their mission.
Awesome. Now, one of the things, for everything that you're doing is something that a lot of people actually struggle with, which is one, looking at their finances and knowing where everything is. What is one of those methods that you and your company do to kind of get people to start looking into their finances?
Well, one of the first things that we do, Anthony, is we take a very goal-oriented approach. What we're finding is that as an industry, financial services in general, yes, we have to talk about risk tolerance and everything else. But, when you say risk tolerance and how much risk can you assume to someone, it means one thing. And when you really dig down deep into how would they deal with it? If push came to shove, if they actually saw a 30 or 50% correction in their portfolio, how would they handle that? And what we're finding is that when we start having the conversation of what are people trying to achieve in the future, really thinking with the end goal in mind, the conversation about what should happen today with their money becomes a lot more meaningful, and it becomes more of an enjoyable conversation versus oh my God, I'm having to talk about my money. I really would prefer to be doing anything else outside of that.
Right. So how do you get them out of that fear?
It's really just through the conversation. One of the first things. So in my prior life, I dealt with a lot of CXOs, CEOs, CFOs on a day-to-day basis, and generally, when I sat across the table from them, they automatically knew that they had an issue. Oftentimes, they didn't know what specifically the issue within their organizations was. Think about Fortune 500 companies, a lot of money moving around. But the conversation were very strategic because they knew that they had an issue. When we're dealing with individuals, is very different. And at the very beginning, when I first started working more with individuals one-on-one, my biggest fear was that they were not going to want to open up, right? So I sat and I thought to my own experiences when I dealt with my financial experts and how good, bad, or ugly those felt, right? And as I kind of continued to refine the process that we leverage with our clients, we continued as a team to put ourselves in the client's shoes. And what we found out is that through the approach that we leverage and through the types of questions and how we hold the conversation, clients never feel poked or pried at, which is very important, because who wants to be poked and pried at on a topic that they already don't want to discuss, right? And what we found was that individuals they're very open when they feel that they're in a safe environment. And so that's what we've created for them. One of the best accolades, it was hilarious, actually. It was a Zoom meeting that I had with a client in Texas, and this individual, very, very, very sheltered when it came to anything personal, especially money. At the end of our conversation, it was a 45-minute long call. He said, Eunicia, hats off to you. He said, I have to give you the accolades that are due. And he said, the reason for that is you did a beautiful job undressing me financially. And I thought, oh my goodness, that's not the kind of conversation you want to have with a gentleman on the other side, right? Your client. And he said, no. He said, I know that sounded potentially weird. He said, but the reality is, I've never spoken with anybody about my finances where I felt I was in an environment where I could actually talk about the future. And so really talking about the goals in a matter, we have a very refined methodology and an approach where people, because of the approach that we're using, people don't feel like, they're in an environment where they don't want to talk about it. On the contrary, like, oh my God, like here's it all, right? And so that's kind of what has worked for us. And that's how we've been able to add value to the lives of hundreds and hundreds of clients and families to date.
That is awesome, because I actually talked about getting financially naked with your spouse, and I did a full episode on it. It was weird to talk about it because I was only talking to myself. So it's like getting financially naked, really just like take time and just write it all down, no matter what it is. Get your head, stop being the ostrich and be the buffalo. Just run towards the danger. Just really lay it all out there. Just kind of understand what you have to play with, because you can't make moves if you don't know, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Here's what I'll tell you on that, Anthony, and I'm so appreciative you said that. Yes, it is fun even just saying it, right? Get naked financially with your spouse. But the reality is, I'll give you two examples. In one of the examples, I had a client that when they came to us, they were literally on the brinks of divorce. Because they had never talked about finances. It was not just the personal finances, it was the business finances. And so when we started having the conversation, and when we started kind of, again, thinking with the end goal in mind, and dissecting through each of the layers in a way that it felt comfortable to them using our approach, it got to the point where now they're happier than ever. They have a very strategic plan in place. They know what they're doing. The wife is more involved in the business, not tactically, but she's able to say, hey, we never thought that we could potentially sell our business. Oh, by the way, Eunicia, like, how would you think about that? Those were conversations that they never had before. So it's true value added to the bottom line. And then you were just talking about the ostrich. I literally had a conversation with a husband and wife just earlier. They had lost a ton of money in their lifetime, a ton of money. And he's done a great job of geeking out and going through the process of that we laid out. On the contrary, his wife thinks that she knows it all. And she said, well, I don't agree. Like, just the fear factor coming out, and in the next 5 years, things are going to be terrible. And we're going to have to be, foraging for food, and we shouldn't be even thinking about money. And I said, with all due respect, even if it was that way, you're still sitting on a ton of money. What's going to happen with all of this? You're just going to let it blow in the wind? So we have to, if in this case I have to, it's not just about my conversation with them. I have to get the two of them talking. They're brand new clients and we're getting there. But because the two of them aren't talking, they're not even on the same planet when it comes to money. And that is very, very dangerous. Yes, couples should absolutely undress and have that conversation financially.
Right. I mean, you already seen each other naked. Why not just open up?
Exactly. I mean, seriously, it's so true. So true.
Yeah. So how soon should couples start talking about finances?
I mean, if they're serious, it doesn't even have to be, husband and wife. We've seen clients where they live together and they have their finances together for, either part or their finances as a whole. And what we're finding is that the sooner they can get past a discussion about money, whether it be putting the money together or keeping it separately, either one is going to create friction. And so if my perspective and our perspective as a company is that if individuals understand each other's values and where they're coming from, then it makes the conversation even simpler. So it really doesn't matter what their status is as a family or as a couple. The sooner they can have the conversation about money, the sooner they're going to be able to put behind them some of the biggest roadblocks.
That's so key, especially in relationships, because a lot of people actually leave those. Again, it's leaving money on the table without even having that discussion, because you can have two people buying the same insurance and you could just combine it and save even 50%.
Yes, absolutely.
So cool. So what can I'm just trying to think of a W-2 worker, because most of them are just W-2 workers. How can most of us actually kind of optimize and not leave money on the table as we go throughout our careers?
It's actually a very, very good question, and it's multifaceted. The answer is multifaceted. It really goes to the cost of whatever it is that individuals are doing to set money aside for the future, whether it be for retirement, whether it be for business, whether it be for whatever it is. The costs, the fees associated with that, the opportunity cost of, should I do this or should I do that with my money? Should I do a traditional 401k? Should I do a Roth? Should I even do a 401k at all? Should I do a SEP? Should I do an IRA? A SEP if they have a business? Just the questions on what should I do with my money, it can mean a ton of that money being left behind. The other thing is how individuals pay on taxes. I'm a huge believer that individuals need to optimize. If they truly are wanting to take money off the table, they need to optimize their taxes. And one of the biggest things that we do with clients, especially those that do work W-2, but those that are business owners as well, is figuring out where are they leaving money on the table when it comes to the fees and the costs that they have, to the opportunities that they're leaving on the table. The taxes are also a huge component of that. And what I would tell you, Anthony, is I am the product of having lived and learned on my own skin. None of my financial experts ever talked about that component. And I was a very high income earner when I was back in corporate America, and was paying a ton of tax. I was paying more in taxes than in many cases 2 or 3 families combined. Wow. And that was my tax bill. I didn't even have an option to say, please don't take it out of my paycheck, because it was automatically deducted. And so when I became a business owner, and more importantly, when I started really working with individuals from a financial standpoint and wealth optimization standpoint, what I discovered was that there is so much I could have done for myself, for my family, to not leave money on the table. So I'm very, very passionate about making sure that our clients are positioned to optimize their tax platform. And many, especially W-2 individuals, don't know that they do have options.
That's so good, because you're like a mother of 2 and have a husband and everything like that. And so with this core family of just really understanding the importance of finances, can you just kind of give us a little bit brief history about yourself, a little bit more on why is this a passion for you?
Absolutely. So I appreciate you asking it. It kind of it always brings emotions out, because for the longest time, I did amazing in corporate America. I, just like everybody else, chased a dream, reached high ends of mountains, if you will, or climbed the mountains that to some seemed impossible. In my line of work, there were very few females, especially climbing up to the levels that I climbed up at. And I did that and I achieved great success, but it was my husband asking me the tough question of, is this what you want to do for the rest of your life? Mm-hmm. And it was coincidentally at the same time as the perfect storm was happening all at once. My children were at the point where I looked at them one morning and it was literally like instant, I looked in them one morning and I just busted out crying because I realized that I would never see them at that age again. And worse, I could never turn time back. I traveled a lot during my prior career. And so while I added a lot of value to all of the companies that I served, all my clients for so many years, there was that delight in the value that I added and in the changes that I was able to make to help them make. But there was so much that I was losing on a personal side. Coincidentally, it was a very strategic time in my career where I had to make some big decisions about what I was going to do, quote unquote, when I grow up. And so when my husband came and asked me, what are you going to do when? And he had this long laundry list of questions. He said, up until now, you drank the Kool-Aid. Now you're going to have to officially sell it. How are you going to uphold your values? And there were a lot of no's on that list. And he said, you do realize that the path that you're going down on, it's a beautiful path, but you'll never be your own boss. You're always going to have somebody to report into, and you're going to have golden cufflinks for about 10 years. So those are two big things. And then the third thing, as if those were not big enough, right? Career and my heart being broken and torn in half. On the financial side, we had some financial products that we needed, financial vehicles that we needed to make decisions on. And the individuals that literally they showed up at our house, they were super, super salesy, so salesy. And here I am, a strategy consultant. I drill people with questions. I live through asking questions. And I feel like I'm being sold big time. I turned to my husband. I said, I don't like them. I don't like what they're proposing. I don't understand my options. Find somebody else. So when he found somebody else, we, of course, drilled those people with questions too. But I loved their approach because it was very non-invasive. It was, they actually came to our house. We had some really good conversations, and there was nothing to be sold. Nothing. It was just a matter of, here are different things that you can and should consider. And so because it put me in the driver's seat, I looked at my husband and I said, why don't you establish your financial transformation, like personal financial transformation practice? Because in his line of work, it would have been a very good addition to his service offering of services. And he said, I would, but I don't have the bandwidth. And I thought, okay. He said, why don't you just help me stand it up, and then you go back to whatever it is that you want to do, corporate America. So long story short, I stood it up. I love building companies and taking them back apart. And I fell in love with helping clients. When I saw the big ahas on my clients' faces, it was so empowering, and it was giving me so much desire to fight for their cause, even though it wasn't mine, but it was a cause. It was the same cause that I had seen in my own finances, where I had neglected my finances. We were leaving tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars on the table. And now I was in a position where I could make a difference in the lives of my customers. And then, of course, it goes without saying, our kids are very well not only set, but those are the very atypical kids. They talk business and finances all the time. So wow. I'm rubbing off on them in the best way possible, I hope.
That is so cool. They pick up. They watch what you're doing. I'm sure they do.
They do. But the biggest thing is when I'm able to have strategic conversations, not just with them, but more importantly, from a business perspective and from a value perspective with our clients, it's just empowering, Anthony, to see the joy on our clients' faces, to know that, hey, prior to this, it was this big fear factor, this scary, ugly thing to talk about money. And now we can look at money and we can actually face the future with hope and with the knowledge that we're going to be okay. They're going to be okay. And that just gives me so much peace and joy on a day-to-day basis. It makes it all worthwhile.
Yes. And this is a perfect segue to start talking about the futures. So what is the futures happening that you foresee with you and yourself within the next 5 years?
Oh my goodness! That question couldn't have come at a better time. The next 5 years are going to be amazing. We do know that there are a lot of changes that are happening: regulatory changes, economical, social, political changes. All of that really plays such a huge factor in what individuals are seeing and perceiving with their finances. And so what we've discovered is that more than ever before, people need to understand their options. If we're dealing with individuals that are just looking to truly optimize whatever it is that they've built or how they're building their wealth, we're here and we're there for them to empower them with everything that they need to successfully implement a plan that is not just a cookie cutter, hi, we're punching some numbers in a computer, but it's truly customized to where they are and where they want to go. And then we also are working with a lot of clients that are on the higher net worth side, fairly significant on the high net worth side, where the big question is, how can we take control of their money? Of our money? How can we stop leaving so much money on the table? Because the uber wealthy, on average, pay somewhere between 15 to 16% on taxes on AGI. Wow. So why is it that the rest of the population is in different tax brackets that are much higher than that, even on the low end? Why is it? And so those individuals that are already earning a lot and making a lot, they really, truly want to know what are the different options. And because of the way that we work and all of the partners that we collaborate with, we're able to provide that value in a very consultative way to our clients. And to be honest with you, Anthony, I couldn't do it. We couldn't do it if it wasn't for the expertise that we bring to the table for the many, many, many years that I spent in strategy consulting, where we see all of this coming together in such a beautiful way, but it's a mess. I mean, it's a mess from the beginning all the way until after it kind of gets tied up with a pretty bow. And so that's where we excel at. And that's where in the next 5 years, we'll have a huge opportunity to help a lot of individuals that are truly set in their ways when it comes to they want to understand their options, as well as business owners that are wanting to make sure that they're positioned for whatever the future holds, whether they divest of their company or they're in a position where they may want to pass it on to their children. But that exit strategy is also huge.
That is so great that you've already had planned out your 5 years. And I wish you the best on making sure that all of this come true. So I can't wait to catch up with you year by year. I mean, we can see how things go.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to it as well. I think it'll be a lot of fun. And I know that you have a lot of listeners that are equally passionate about what they're doing with their money and how they're progressing through life and making a better life for themselves. So yeah, definitely looking forward to staying in touch.
All right. So you ready for the final 4 questions?
Sure.
All righty. So what does success mean to you?
That's a very good question. Success to me is knowing that we always do the right thing for our clients. One of the biggest pitfalls I think in the industry is just the way that things can be maneuvered from this side of the fence. And having seen enough financial cases come across my desk, one of the first things that I became very passionate about is doing for my clients and for our clients what others haven't done for me. Because looking in hindsight being 2020, I realized where a lot of my fees, a lot of our expenses were, and a lot of the different things that could have and should have been optimized. But frankly, it was not in the interest of those that were helping me to do that. It was in their interest to do things just the way they did them. So our whole mission and my whole mission, what makes me happy at the end of the day is knowing and having peace in my heart that we did the right thing for our clients.
Awesome. What is your favorite financial book or non-financial book?
Oh my goodness. I have a ton of amazing books, financial books that I love. One of them is Money Master the Game by Tony Robbins. It's one that was written in such a way that a lot of people, it's easy to understand. It's a long read, but definitely worth it. Take it in bite-sized chunks. And non-financial book, oh my goodness. Blink would be one of them.
That is a good book.
Yep. It's a good, there's so many, like I'm having a really hard time choosing, to be honest with you. Blink is one, and I'll give you my second favorite is Who Not How. It's one that actually has made an imprint even on my children. They can tell which parent is the who and which parent is the how.
Which one is the who? Which one is the how?
I don't know. I'll let you guess on that one.
Okay. I say you're the how. This is how you get it done.
So the who is the book. It's kind of it's backwards if you think about it. The who is realizing that we all are acting in our unique ability, and that's something that Dean Graziosi, who was my personal mentor for a while, loves to say. Everyone should act in their unique ability. And so thinking about it from the who, then the question becomes, when I have to get something done, right, accomplish something, it's not the matter of how am I going to do this? It's the matter of, okay, I already have my deck is full of what I need to get done. Who can help me and do this better than I can? And so that was one of the reasons why we started collaborating and partnering with so many amazing individuals. It's because of asking that question. The how is more, we can all do more. We can all geek out and learn different things, but is it in your unique, is that going to fulfill what it is that we do in our unique ability to be asking the question of how can I do it versus who can help me with this? And the parallel to that is very similar to a lot of individuals that are thinking from a financial perspective. I'll just figure it out. And we all know what happens. They end up on these rabbit holes and they never end up to utopia, right? Whereas if they just ask, who can help me? Who can I work with to in the most strategic, most optimized way, achieve what I need to achieve? That would be more than half the battle for them. And so that's one of the reasons it's one of my favorite books.
Got it. What did you learn from your favorite job?
What did I learn from my favorite job? That's a good one. It's be humble. It's be humble. You never know what the other person goes through. And sometimes, especially when we're dealing with big problems, we might feel those big problems, but the individuals, especially our clients, might be feeling those big problems even more in a compounding way than we do. And so being humble and being respectful of what other people go through and not judging, just saving space for our clients in most situations, but for the individuals that we work with, I think goes a long way, because when you have a chance to kind of take a step back, what you're realizing is that what you thought and what the reality was are two totally different things. So if you can just step aside and not be in that judgmental bubble, it's huge. Again, just leaving space for the other person.
I might have to start working on that. What is your favorite dish to make?
Oh, to make. I am not a very good I prefer to geek out on finances. But one of the dishes that my children absolutely love me making with them is homemade waffles. Now, our homemade waffles are nothing what you might expect. My sister says that they cannot be considered waffles because they are too healthy. If you had them breakfast, lunch, and dinner, you would probably get more nutritional value out of my waffles than out of 3 different types of meals. So, but that's one of my favorites.
You gotta send me a picture. This would be fun.
I will. Next time we make them, I generally try to make big batches. That way, you probably could guess I don't have to make them too often. They freeze very well.
Good. All right. Well, Eunicia, it was a pleasure to have you on the show. So before you leave, where can people find you all over the internet?
All over the internet, the best place to find me is at www.empoweredfinancialplanner.com. That is by far the easiest, or on social media. We are just about everywhere. Most of my handles are something Eunicia Peret. So Eunicia Peret, at Eunicia Peret on Instagram, Eunicia Peret on Facebook. I think it's Eunicia.Peret on LinkedIn, but I kind of go by my name. Or for those individuals that are truly serious, look up empoweredfinancialplanner.com. You can opt into our newsletter and we'll be in touch with you. Just let us know. Please do let us know that you heard about us here on the podcast and on Anthony's show, and we can give some kudos back.
Oh, I'll definitely put the plug in. Definitely put this on the show notes so everybody can go down and dive on in. So, well, thank you so much again. And those of you who are listening, please make sure that you, if you're listening to this in the car or even on your phone, just take a nice little screenshot, take a picture, just to kind of tag me. And definitely would love to see all of you out there who are actually listening to the show. Again, thank you so much for being on the show and listening. You guys be safe. I'm out. Peace.